Evening, folks. My name is Tim Bittler. I'm one of the 5 supervisors. Tonight we continue our live stream on YouTube. You can access that anytime to see what's happening. My colleagues know I've opposed the limits and limitations and resolutions that we've passed. To that end, I have gotten a number of calls, etc., and I've felt the need to file a lawsuit over that, which has been done, including another filing today. So stay tuned. It's there for your ability to access that anytime you want without any kind of right to know request. You should also know that that was done at my sole expense. There's no cost to the township for that. So having said that, it's nice to see all of you come out. You 3 gentlemen are with the same issue, the hunting issue.
Yes, sir.
I said to you that I would look at that, and I did. So we'll wait till see what we have to say about it, and I'd encourage you to pursue that. I think I've told you my personal opinion is that the more uses that someone has within reason in a property, the better. My biggest disappointment is probably considered a poor shot, as it is. I have a lot of looks from the dog saying what happened.
Just practice.
Practice.
We can help you out there.
There you go.
Order at 7 o'clock. We'll do a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for all military personnel.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Present. Here.
None here. The citizens' concern this evening. You're on the agenda, right? Any other citizens? If not, we have correspondence. You see the First County Association of Township officials. That.
There's nothing to say actually on that subject at this point in time. It's not due until much later in the year, but it essentially, as deadline for resolution is August 31st. And just one for us to submit any resolutions we'd like to see PSAT state. So if there's something that comes to our attention between now and the end of August, actually August, probably before regular meeting, I would say that we get it on.
Okay, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board, everyone else. First item on my agenda is simply an update. If you recall from the May 21st Board of Supervisors regular meeting, Township resident came in, identified himself as Stanley Marcinkowski, and he was concerned about a dip in Route 10 in the area of the furnace, in addition to speeding on Route 10, which is a problem. In fact, very unfortunate, but Carnarvon Township had a fatal accident on Route 10 last week. One of our officers did assist briefly with that.
Do you know any of the details on that, Chief?
No, I don't. I know Carnarvon's investigating state police assisted with reconstruction. That's all I can tell you at this point. So, based on Mr. Marcinkowski's complaint, I had asked Corporal Cooper to handle that, and that's why I asked him to come this evening, also see how the meeting goes with his recent promotion, but I'll let him provide any updates on what actions he has taken to this point.
So the plate issue that's on Route 10, right in front of the Joanna furnace, I talked to an employee, a supervisor with PennDOT. He came out, checked the plate out. He He said it hasn't moved, but they are currently waiting on permits. I think there's 140 some permits that the state has issued that they're waiting on to fix the road. He said they could come out and do some patchwork to the plate, but they received numerous complaints as well for that plate. We also received a complaint, I believe it was last meeting, for people speeding on Route 10. I let the guys know that we want to start cracking down on that, and then as of last Thursday, from last Thursday till today, we got 24 traffic stops, 14 warnings were issued, 10 citations were issued. And that basically is a stretch from New Morganboro down to our other lines, which is near Green Hills Road. So we did that whole entire stretch since last Thursday. It was 24 stops, 10 citations, 14 warnings, and then one person was taken into custody for warrants. I plan on continuing the next several weeks to crack down on speeding on Route 10.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is basically putting here as a reminder, if I have to, June 21st at 2 o'clock will be the last time I'm on duty here as your chief of police. So the board will need to discuss making a officer in charge. At that point would be my recommendation. I would recommend that that officer in charge be effective on June 21st at 2 o'clock. Timeline forward, my vacation time and personal time expires August 9th. The board does have a meeting, a workshop meeting on August 8th, at which time, depending what discussions and what decisions the boards may make by then, you can take action at that meeting. But I just wanted to present the timeline to the board so that you were aware.
It's an August timeline
For your next step, which would either be officer in charge to say acting chief would be typically how it goes, if you're not ready to appoint a chief at that point. Depends on, the board's processes.
But we should, as of June 21st at 2 p.m., we should have an officer in charge, or at least designated officer.
I would suggest that strongly.
Since you're out.
Absolutely.
what's wrong with just the officer who's on duty at the time, the ranking officer?
You always want to make an officer in charge, so in the absence of a chief, it's always the sergeant. Typically, when I go in on vacation, I just take care of that, but because this time when I go on vacation, I'm not returning, I felt it was more proper if the board would take that action officially. This is why I'm bringing it before you.
Do it now, you can do it Tuesday, I guess. It's everybody's pleasure. Does anybody have a thought?
On what? What can I do for an OIC?
Yeah, do we want a motion tonight, or do we want to wait till Tuesday, or?
He kind of clarified it when he just said who he leaves in charge. If he's trusted that person to be in charge when he's out away from here, I would trust that same person because he's built this department. This started how many years ago after Chief Phillips left. So my answer is Dennis has built this department. We have a good department. They care about the community. They're interactive with the community. I think we need to respect his choices unless we're proven wrong, and I highly doubt that. So, okay, I'll make the motion. For Smith. Grimby. I'm getting blonde. Grimby.
So you make a motion to put
Make
officer
him as
in
the
the
OIC.
OIC
Effective the
June
21st
21st at 2 p.m.
at 2 p.m.
Are there alternatives to that, chief? He's only been, as I recall, less than 2 years. But
He was also an OIC in another
I'm talking to the chief.
that doesn't.
Do you mind if I talk to the chief?
It's be nice to
Sergeant.
respect.
Let the chief answer the question. Go ahead, chief.
Now, typically, the sergeant, the second in command, is who is the officer in charge in my absence. In the past, he has done fine. Again, that gives the board time to discuss what you want to do with my position moving forward. It's not a permanent decision, depending what the board's wishes are. But it just designates somebody in charge of this department, because whether it be an event that would occur in the jurisdiction, or the district attorney, or anybody that needs to reach who's in charge. For example, the email that I just received, I had to tell them who's in charge of our crash reporting system, something simple. they need that point of contact. And that's why you do it.
What's this board's concept for selecting, a chief? Shouldn't we talk about that in the same light?
Well, we can,
We're not
that's for
having a
August.
discussion now.
Yeah, I think if we appoint an OIC, then we can
Exactly.
have the discussions between now
August.
and August or whatever, that final day is that.
Well, if we
Dennis
need,
is
We
if we
also have
if
2
we're
months.
gonna wait till August, how does that give us time to interview? Why can't these discussions be made now? I'd be in favor of opening it up, obviously, for any of the officers that are employed here, as well as put out a request for proposal for anybody interested in the chief.
Those have already started
What's
coming
the,
in, much
what's
shorter.
the harm in that, by doing that today?
There's no harm in that today. Let's just finish this motion, so we have a
Yes.
motion in a second.
And
So roll call.
let's listen to a woman too, Mr. Bittler.
Roll call, Mrs. Bowles.
Yes,
Mr. Gallow.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
Just for clarity purposes, this is only for the interim basis.
Until we decide officially what you
I'll
want.
vote yes for that.
Not a yes. Now, would you want to make a motion?
Sure, make a motion that we solicit request for proposals and or notice the job with as many details as we can. That our chief position is available.
Fine.
going through the community already.
Make it official. Yes.
Make that motion?
I'll second it. Roll call, Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Gallow.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
No.
Mr. Bittler.
I'll vote yes. Is there some reason, Mr. Rhodes, why you wouldn't wanna look at the large picture and see who's out here?
There is, and we can discuss that then.
Can we discuss that now
No,
in the public?
no.
I have my reasons.
Well, that's what I'm asking, can I have your reason?
I can tell you my reasons in private.
Yes. It happens to be called personnel, if you keep forgetting.
It's not a personnel issue per se. This is an issue of how this board's gonna select its people.
No, we made a motion
We,
to.
stop whining.
So now, let's see if our manager can summarize that position, maybe in concert with Dennis. If you could maybe send us all an email on that, we can, make sure we all take a peek at that. I think there'd be considerable interest. A lot of people like to be in Robeson Township.
So Rob, I'll send you,
At the risk of destroying the morale that we have. So keep that in mind when you start making decisions based on something you personally know. So sit back and think about the morale of our police.
Anything else, chief?
that's it for me this evening. Anybody has anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
And in our packet is expenses, treasury reports, arrangement report.
Treasurer will be sent later this afternoon, I did provide you a hard copy here for the meeting, just so that you have
The expenses and bills are here tonight.
the expenses and bills are back here.
Alright, Rich?
Okay. I know we talked at the last meeting about doing a comparison with muni links and CAMs. It's a discussion in the office between myself and fiscal administrator. We felt it was actually important to research whether or not there were other options for us out there. One of those CAMs is an outsourced program for sewer billing, and then muni links is an internet-based program that we manage ourselves. So we did in fact reach out to some other municipalities. We don't have all the data back in. There's another outsourced billing system, which was Dallas Data Systems. I believe we actually used that before, but we want to relook at that. That is actually a fairly expensive option, but again, we want to relook at it now. I don't know if anything's changed. And with regard to internal database systems, Tower Technologies manages one for Spring Township. It's a very small portion of it. Brecknock, it actually has a few that go from the Spring Township area, so that's what they use. The other thing I want to mention to you is Exeter. They've sold their wastewater treatment plant, and then Portmouth Law Offices is actually the collector for them. I'm not sure how that process works, so we'll need to reach out. I may need to chat with you about reaching out, attorney to attorney on that.
Sure.
Conversations. So we'll have some more information hopefully at the next meeting. If not, we'll obviously continue to gather information and present to the board. This is not an immediate decision, but we want to make sure we're making the right one. The second thing on here, I have a couple of gentlemen here this evening from Brandon Wyoming Shot. What they're looking for, to my understanding, is they're looking for the board, we have a motion tonight for conditional use. to have a regulated hunting program on the Hertzler property. So reading through all the material, working with our codes officer, what that would do this evening if we were to approve by motion a conditional use of that property, which would be for a secondary principal use. Right now, the principal use of that property is farming. We approved we approved the conditional use of the property, at which point they can then apply to the zoning hearing board for a secondary principal use of the property. Hunting is considered it's a complicated process. So that's what they're here for this evening. Gentlemen, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Yes, please. Thank you all for having us.
And your name, please.
Thomas Gasberry. Through our correspondence, back and forth between Ted, Nelson, and Mike, all right, there is a piece that Ted's saying, if this is not a commercial recreational use, all right, then it is permitted in the district and only with conditional use approval by the township. Board of Supervisors, see attached to that, all right? We're a very small, private conservation group. We've been in existence since the 1960s. All right, we train bird dogs, pointers, from that standpoint. And what the letter of approval from the supervisors would allow us to do is hand that to the Pennsylvania Game Commission, who would then issue us our preserve permit for that particular property. Now, I went into, at the workshop a month or so ago, I went into just a little basics about the club, what we do, you know. I said a good day, you know, a bad day of golf is a wasted walk. A bad day out with your dog is still a good day. You know, it's not about hunting. You know, it's about training the dogs, working the dogs, and carrying on the sportsmanship tradition in Pennsylvania. All right. As a little segue and some background, this club was already approved for use in Robeson Township. We were on Golf Course Road for 3 seasons, the old John Panizzi property regulators, until that was sold for development. So you folks have approved us once already, 15 years ago.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for it. I apologize that you have to jump through so many hoops because you shouldn't have to in this situation, right?
There's no apologies needed.
You know,
We understand how things work.
it's ridiculous.
We kind of like to just cut to the chase here, please, and allow us to do what we do. And we're back 15 years later. And I thank you for your time.
Yeah, that last time, we're great, we just wanted to say.
I have 4 years, I can't, you know what I mean, I can't argue what you're saying, and I know it's not
Well,
about.
well, let's make some.
Just a question, so,
Yes,
so what you're saying is that they will need the conditional use, they'll need to have a hearing on the conditional use, and then the next step is to go to the zoning hearing board for variance for the second principal use?
That's not what I would want to favor. I would like to have the permit issued tonight.
yes, thank you. Because the point I made initially here today was, we are not a commercial recreational use. It doesn't fall under that as a secondary use. This is merely an exception under the EPA code that has gone through the municipal townships.
Whatever motion I think we can make, it just makes it simple.
I believe my conversations with Solicitor London, this was the question that came up, and this is where we move the distinction is there a contract between you and the Hertzlers for the use, a legal contract, a lease, if you will, between you for the use of the property for this?
Yes, there is a lease signed, and that is strictly from a liability standpoint. We carry all the insurances and liabilities. There is no commercial payment, cost, no this for that, not even a barter exchange. It's not commercial, we're a private club.
And under that, so the,
Is it simply a dollar lease, nominal consideration lease?
They're actually giving us the lease for free because they've had burglaries and they want us on the property to watch the property. And on part of the section from the game commission, we have to post the property that they're not allowed on, that's regulated shooting grounds or preserve.
Yep, they've had poachers, they've had any share of nefarious activity.
So Solicitor Lundy, can we just make a motion that bypasses everything?
Well, I mean, you can't waive the zoning ordinance, however, if it's the judgment of the board that it's, not a commercial recreational use, and that it is a permitted use, rather than a commercial recreational use, a use permitted by right without additional approvals needed, then the permit would be able to be issued.
would we be able to cap that permit? In other words, I think we had talked, you said no more than 25 is by your game commission permit. Okay,
Correct.
so,
And
Yes,
that's,
and that's right, and that would be, right, the game commission would be the rule that preempts, that would be the rule that prevails.
and all game commission ordinances and rules are followed to the letter.
But we're also held to no guest fees, we're not allowed to charge anybody anything with our.
because it is not, it's a non-commercial license, understood?
It's
That has
simply,
to be posted.
simply a hobby
Yeah.
type of use,
Yep.
is that's what you're describing. May I see the lease?
Yeah, we are registered as a not-for-profit and have been since the 1960s.
Well, how long do you plan on?
Date on this?
You plan on using the property forever, if
So-
they allow?
The lease, so the game commission wants us to do a 1, 2, or 3-year lease or permit. So as of right now, the Hurslers, we have an agreement with them for, we're basically trying it out this year.
For 1 year right now.
I mean,
Based on,
if this would be approved as, we'll call it a hobby recreational non-commercial use, that would be a condition attached to the permit that it remain a non-commercial use. In other words, money is not exchanged.
Correct,
Exchanging hands.
that's understood.
so I'll make a motion based on your representations that this is non-commercial
Yes, sir.
and that it's a permitted use, that we approve, that we approve the use.
I'll second the motion.
This is when
That covers
insurance are in place.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's
Right.
the insurance
Thank you.
between you and.
Where do we vote, Kyle?
and the property.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you. Good job.
Solicitor Lundy, do you have anything, you think that's a good enough motion, it seems?
I didn't hear the motion, I was looking at the,
Based on the representation of the applicant, if you will, that this is non-commercial and it's a permitted use by right, I'd make a motion that they be authorized to proceed immediately.
that the permit be approved.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so roll call, Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Gallow.
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
Mr. Bethel.
Yes.
I just wanna see.
There are issues, gentlemen, we trust you will work with us if there are
This
any
is a
issues.
okay, this is a
Absolutely.
license and indemnity agreement.
And I would ask
This is
that,
what you're calling the lease?
we keep good
Okay, so it's a
communications,
license and indemnity.
and if you would like to come out,
I was gonna say, okay,
Please.
we're bringing one of our dogs out and coming to go hunting.
License is not,
Yep. please, let's plan on that.
okay, it's a $0 lease, no sub-license.
And the birds are on us.
Yeah, the dogs would have to be on birds.
Safety zone.
Thank you.
So Mike, your availability tomorrow, early next week to wrap this up with 10-9, I'd like to make sure we got all of our ducks in a row. What I wanna do is actually put a good binder together for the board so they have that, in case they need to review it.
So if you want copies of this,
Yes, if I can have copies of all of that, that would be very beneficial. I can then work with Ted to make sure the appropriate permits are issued.
This
And
is
then
it, yep, go ahead.
when you have, if it's not already part of the packet, when you have the application, the returned piece from the State Game Commission, then I would want that as well to add to that packet.
I'll give you a copy of it.
Okay, that's fine.
Because we have to actually display it on the property.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep, that's all I need is a copy, I don't need the original. Just so we have, in case anybody comes with questions, it's good for us to have that on hand inside the office.
I've contacted all the neighbors, I'm gonna give them all my information, so point of contact if there's any problem. I've talked to Mr. Cooper, and I've actually been in his house after permission on one of the properties I met him 2 months ago. And, any problems, call me.
So good.
All right, thank you.
Came to a good resolution.
Yeah, I looked at the lease, it is a zero consideration license agreement, so it is not it's not a lease, there's no reference to any type of commercial use.
All right, thank you. All right, Rich, C.
Okay, the next thing on our list, I would like to move a small portion of the funds from line 410-140, support the retirement event for Chief Cass in recognition of his 30 years of service. I'd like to point out that is actually the insurance line. After making the calculations, there was approximately $6,500 that would be unused for Chief Castle's portion of that. And I'm asking for $2,000, that's for a retirement event. I want to make that obviously out in the public and for you to make a motion thereon. So,
So you're looking for a motion to approve
essentially transfer the use of those funds for that purpose.
that's the $2,000
Yes.
motion. I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Here, roll call, Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Gallow.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Okay, Ryan and I'll have a little bit of a back and forth with this next piece on the conversation. So, as part of our paving contract, New Morgan Borough, there's a piece of Mounts Road which, we have extended them the offer of essentially continuing the paving project through their portion of Mounts Road. They reached back out to us looking for an intermunicipal agreement. I think there's a misunderstanding. We're trying to clarify that now. We're not doing the paving. It's an outsourced, it's a paving contract with a third party. So I reached back out to Ashland Whittingham, who is their borough manager, explained to her that they would sign a separate contract for their portion of that paving. And I don't believe we actually need an intermunicipal agreement, but in case it comes back up in conversations with her board, I wanted to at least put it on our agenda in case we need to readdress it on Tuesday evening. I don't think that it will. I think that I've satisfied that question. And again, it's their contract to sign, and they're essentially handling it. Which is the way we structured that, Ryan, I appreciate your support on that, was to basically break it into pieces so that we could pick, if you will, which ones we were going to do.
Yeah, we'll get to our portion of the contract later, but the way the contract is written is that essentially there's an agreement between the contractor and the borough and the contractor and the township. The borough receives their own maintenance bonds, their own performance bonds, everybody's listed. So there's really no intermunicipal agreement between the borough and the township. That was discussed with Municipal Services at PennDOT. It was discussed with Mr. Orlando before we bid it, and I discussed it here with Ms. London just before the meeting. I don't see the need for this. If they, this is basically goodwill from us towards them. We're doing the legwork here. This is the cost to pave your section of road. Here's the lowest qualified bidder. Take it or leave it.
I thought we already had an agreement because we plow that road during winter months.
Well, and understand, Mr. Steve, that would be, if that's an intermunicipal agreement there, that would be based on the fact that we're utilizing our equipment to do so. This we have absolutely nothing to do with their,
Well,
otherwise.
if we were doing the pavement, we already have the agreement in place.
Correct, well, that may be the case, and I'd have to look into that, but I haven't seen that, and you could probably give me more clarification on that.
Yeah, when I learned some additional facts from Mr. Road about this and about the fact that there was a separation of the payment and of the financial security, that changed my view and confirmed that no intermunicipal agreement would likely be needed.
Okay, all right, I appreciate your support on that. All right, and the last item on my part of the agenda here, Green Hills approval to sign a pump and haul agreement with a letter guaranteeing security. So, but the reason I bring this before your attention this evening, we've been back and forth with 2000 Perk Yeoman through their council, and essentially, what they originally wanted to do is take the pump and haul agreement, and they wanted to submit that to DEP for approval. However, we did not have a bond in place or a security in place for that. And we were not going to submit that without that security. We weren't gonna sign it on our end. That was a decision made by the board last month. In the meantime, they were looking to do it without that. We were gonna look to put essentially a letter or memorandum with that pump and haul agreement so that it could be submitted to DEP. And at that point in time, with DEP taking that, would say this doesn't have any force of effect until the security's in place. Am I correct?
That's correct, and that's, and both the township and the authority and council for 2000
Correct.
Yeoman were in agreement with that approach and are just asking that it be released to DEP for review with that endorsement.
Right. Now, I also understand, looking at some of the language that went out today, Keith Mooney, that it looks like they're actually very close to having that bond or that security in place regardless. If I'm not mistaken by what I saw this afternoon.
That's correct, because he sent the improvements agreement with the authority back to me. I know that the one with the township has been concluded, sent the one with the authority back to me with the appropriate language, with certain language changes, same with the bond. So yes, we are close.
So what I'd ask the board for tonight is a motion to approve us to sign the pump and haul agreement with the understanding that if the security is not immediately in place, that we can submit with the memorandum that details that has no effect until that security is there.
Right, it is for purposes of DEP review, so as not to hold up the project.
That agreement's not here tonight.
I can actually, the pump and haul agreement I can show you again. It's been signed by the RTMA, has not been signed by the board this morning. Again, because we were looking for the security to be in place first.
Right, and that is close.
I thought you said you had the security all lined up.
The security is, it was a matter of some of the language on the bond, so, but it's the 2.1 million, it's 2.181 million.
So it's not really lined up.
We've agreed on the language, so yes, I believe that it is
Well,
lined.
the problem comes is when you agree on language that's not here, and then the language gets changed, I wasn't privy to some of these emails for certain, so, I mean, that's just a problem.
Well, the question is simply of release of the pump and haul agreement for purposes of DEP review. It's not going to be of any force and effect without the financial security in place.
That's already stated, isn't it?
When will we see the end financial, before or after the next meeting, or next meeting?
I would assume that it would be before the next, before the next meeting.
Workshop or regulars next Tuesday, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it will be in place by then, but I believe that it will be in place very shortly.
We're not held for anything, no matter what. There's no liability or responsibility to us. If they don't produce it,
Right, and
then it's moot point.
right, it's simply review of the pump and haul agreement.
And for DEP, which takes long enough to function on any level. So, okay, I make the motion that Rich stated, so I don't have to dig myself in any 90-foot hole.
Well, motion to extend.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Gallow.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
I'll vote no.
And I'll abstain. All right, anything else?
No, sir.
And then we see their packet, we got our company thing on Tuesday. And also in our packets, the minutes, expenses, reports.
For review,
as it relates to the minutes do not have near information as it relates to the regular meeting when we appointed our solicitor. I raised the issues of the conflicts of interest. The document, the minutes as written are totally missing.
motion's in there,
Excuse me?
the motion is in there. We
Do
don't
you
write
do you ever
verbatim.
think there should be any discussion on that? I mean, thank God, people, for YouTube. You can go and see at least what this supervisor is concerned with. By hiring our solicitor, we created a conflict, a real conflict today.
Your opinion.
No,
Yes.
a real conflict, not my opinion.
Yeah,
An
it's
attorney,
your opinion.
no, it's not. An
If you
attorney
had any
cannot
knowledge
represent a
on this.
landlord and a lessee,
Okay.
a lessee and land at the same time. She can't do it. She'll tell you she can't.
Discussed it
I have
now, right?
already agreed that you should get conflicts counsel for that lease, for that one.
Okay, so
But
if you
it is
need
routine.
conflict counsel, there's a conflict. Now, if we hire a solicitor that goes into it knowing we have conflicts, this board's just wasting more money. That's all, should be at least a general discussion of that in the minutes.
The minutes are to state the topic and the outcome, not verbatim opinions, thoughts, or.
Yeah, you've got your Robeson review to go back and look at, so you can see how happy you are with everything you talk about, so use that.
All right, well, that's up for Tuesday, so planning and engineering, Ryan.
Good evening, board. First item that I have, you can either choose to take action on this evening or to work at your regular meeting. We've received another 90-day extension as the time has lapsed, or it will lapse soon, on Cedar Hill Estates. Their request was attached to my report, which was previously distributed to you. So I don't know if you want to take some time on that. If you would like to make a motion tonight, that's completely up to you.
Progress.
I don't, we had brought them in here. Yeah.
That's my point, we extend,
Yep.
and there's no progress being made, we get told, I've watched that happen for a couple of years. So if they're not making progress, why should we extend it? Let them beat their head against the wall. If you can't follow the rules,
In the past, we have asked them to come in and address the board.
They
They did one time. I asked the planning commission if they felt that was warranted for them. They didn't feel that was, they made a recommendation to approve the extension. But quite frankly, that's up to you folks. I mean, we track the time. I do not have the time or the resources to keep, my thumb on everything they're doing. They are working with DEP, or at least have been in the past. Do I think they're in any huge hurry to complete this process?
No.
Absolutely not.
so they're gonna drag their feet.
So,
If we can ponder it for Tuesday.
Yeah. That's fair.
okay. The next two items I have to do with our street work. The first is an update, after I completed my report for the board, which is before you now. I did receive a payment application, the township received a payment application for the maintenance contract, which was Martin's paving. That work is not complete, but they have completed the oil and chip and the sweeping. They also addressed some problem areas that Barry had pointed out. So they have requested a progress payment. My request or question to the board is, I can have that ready for Tuesday. Everything is in order. They have submitted a request for $221,119.40. The full contract value is $244,000 plus or minus. They have line painting yet to do. I thought it was worth asking the question so that we're not holding on to it for a month till we meet again. I can have that ready for you Tuesday if you'd like. If you want me to hold on to it, I can let
Are
them
you
know.
happy with everything that?
Yeah, he called me, Jordan from Orange Paving, he called me today and said they are most likely gonna be out next week to do the line painting. Actually like next week because it's supposed to be so hot and it'll dry real quick.
As usual, they've been great to work with.
And that's,
You don't think you're happy with it?
Yeah, we drove it, I've driven it twice now, there was two problematic areas, which they went that day when I called in, so everything's
So
good.
there's nothing that's messed up?
There's nothing that's messed up besides there's no lines on the road yet.
But we're not,
Which he called me today and said
we're
they're
not
gonna
giving
be
them, we won't be giving them everything.
no, we're only giving them what they've completed thus far, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
With retainage as per the contract.
I'm gonna guess it, if everybody's okay, have that ready for Tuesday.
Okay, I'll prepare that and circulate it as soon as I can in advance of Tuesday. Second item, with respect to street work, we did open paving bids, on the 6th. The low bidder for all, alternates of the contract was H&K Group. That bid tab was attached to my report. Again, for the board's background here, we bid this 3 ways. There's a base bid that includes, Proudfoot, Mounts Road within the township and within the borough, and Hopewell Road. There's an alternate 1 bid which includes all those items without the portion of Mounts Road in New Morton Borough. And there's an alternate 2 bid which left Hopewell Road out. If you recall, we thought that we could get all of this in and under our budget. So we decided to kind of throw Hopewell in at the last second, so to speak. The road crew had done some prep work and replaced some pipes out there. The prices that came in were a little higher than anticipated, but I believe still within our budget after talking with staff. So at this point, I would ask that you review the bid tab, see which way we want to go here. I'd like to get a little better direction from New Morton Borough. It seems to make sense to me that we award the base bid for $459,967.35. We can get that into our budget as we've discussed with staff, and that we get Hopewell Road done in our township as well, which Marvin had done 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, so we kind of cleaned that up out there. Again, Rich and I had exchanged some email correspondence with the borough manager, looking for them to come back with some direction so that we could award that together and get that all put together. I am hoping that we'll get some feedback for Tuesday. If not, our bids would still be relevant for the next workshop meeting. So if it has to go that far, we can. That's per our contract document, but I'm hoping that gets some.
The sooner we get it done, the sooner it gets done, the sooner
You
the
bet.
roads are better for the community.
You bet. Yeah.
Thank you.
So more on that to come. The next item, there was a field view held for Old River Road Bridge on May 23rd. I know Rich and Barry were there, as was I. As were, I don't know, 50 other people. It seemed like
seemed to be
everybody
quite a
and their
few.
brother showed up. So we were able to express our concerns to the representatives there. There was representatives from the design engineer, from the state, from the county, from PennDOT, and that process seems to be underway. My understanding is the next thing that will come before us with respect to that bridge will be essentially a request for the township to turn over design of that structure to PennDOT. So it is a full federally funded project. I think I have that right, that's what they said.
They did, yes.
So as such, we will need an agreement to allow them to perform the design and I guess subsequently put it and build it.
I would also like to add to that, one of the things that they'll need to consider, we had originally believed that it was going to be between 2026, 2027. However, they're going to need to obtain some DEP approvals for that particular area. And I believe there's also some archaeological work that may need to be done. So we're now looking at probably 27 or 28 before that bridge project is in process.
It seemed like there were 50 people there and everyone had an environmental concerns.
Yes, so.
Are
Are there 50 residents there, or?
No, these were folks associated with this process of state and federally funded bridge replacement.
Like, do they have a name? Are they some organized group?
Again, there were representatives from Berks County.
County,
Yeah.
state was there. A lot of them were actually Mr. Bittler's. Quite a few of them were interns that were probably there for review and understanding the process moving forward as they graduate and move on into their own positions within either the Commonwealth or other counties.
As this proceeds, I think, as I stated in my report, this ball is going to get rolling now, and we're going to see all the players, and it's going to come to light. So I'm sure before we have any agreements to sign or what have you, we'll know the full story.
In addition to that, just not only the state and the county and other parties on the engineering side, there were also those who were there for the utilities. I recognize a number of players there as well, so that added certainly to the numbers there.
That's all I have for you this evening, unless you have questions of me. Again, we will continue to try to get that paving project in line for Tuesday. All right, thank you. All right, Solicitor London,
Okay, well, good evening.
you're welcome.
I'm glad to be here and I want to thank the board. I have received files from Attorney Orlando's office. He and I have met, gone over items that are in progress. I understand that the solicitation ordinance and speed limit ordinance were being drafted. We can prepare and advertise those for the July business meeting. I believe that's already been authorized for the solicitor to do.
I'm not
And
sure we've seen final copies of those, have we?
you haven't, so I'll get them, Colin McFarland from our office will be attending the meeting next Tuesday. Our normal rotation will be that I will attend the business meeting, he'll attend the workshop meeting. He wasn't feeling well this evening, so we decided to do some switching around and have me attend tonight. We'll have drafts for Tuesday night's meeting for the board to review. I also understand that for the McCarthy Agricultural Building and improvements and financial security agreement is needed. I have the agreed upon amount between the engineers, and I will be able to prepare that and have that for Tuesday night as well. And that's my report. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll address matters as they come up during the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Barry.
Good evening, board. As on here, the electronic sign quote, that still holds, just wanna kind of just stay there for. Meeting with Hometown and also Restore in regards to the quotes for the crack sealing, line painting of the parking lot. I need one more because none of the two are co-stars, so I need one more for the third bid. So I'm trying to hunt down, it's just, I haven't gotten any quotes, I haven't been able to meet up with them as we're doing a lot of street work. Just trying to get some of that stuff squared away. Other than that, that's it.
So you ready for the flooding tomorrow?
Yeah. Hopefully not.
All right, well, thank you very much. Rich?
Okay, so some things from Park and Recreation, what we'd like to do is, we did look into a batting cage. As you know, we actually have the net itself from the Reading Phillies. It's a 70-foot long net that we have obtained from them. However, there's no batting cage available, so what we'd like is your permission to look out and obtain some quotes to see what we could find with regards to that. Not where we can put the batting cage out there. So I'd like a motion on that.
I'll make a motion we approve obtaining quotes for the purchase of a batting cage.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Mr. Joy?
Yes.
Mr. Gallow?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Bitler?
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Okay, the second thing I have on there for everyone is a motion to approve hosting a food truck Friday, or at least to do some additional research here for it. What we looked at is essentially bringing in 2 to 3 food trucks, allowing people to stop by, get dinner. Thought it would be a good opportunity to also draw some business into the township. They would have to get their solicitor's permit for that, and they would come in and you could pick up your meal on Friday night. Again, it would be I think a great opportunity to also utilize our park. And it would tie in very nicely, at least during the summer months, with a lot of the activities that are going on in our Friday evenings.
When does the fire company have their events, anybody?
Thursday.
This is the last sandwich sale, and they're doing a barbecue in
Yeah.
the next couple of weeks.
But their Friday dinners don't go through the summer.
No.
Oh, they're not, they closed that down for the winter,
Yeah.
for the summer.
But about a month ago,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's not even going on. It doesn't conflict with anything like that.
The last meeting that they had, you include the February meeting, were there meetings March, April, May?
There were not, nothing official.
Where the ideas come from, or have the ideas surfaced?
These have been on the plate for a little while. They actually had a meeting here just 2 weeks ago.
You know, last month I asked you for a list of the the composition of what I'll refer to as the fee in lieu of, you remember that, right?
Fee in lieu, I'm not sure I'm
The,
following.
the park and rec account, how did it get to 60,000? What's the composition of that?
I believe that was open space fees from the
Yes.
owners.
And there's a list of who contributed what, that's what I asked you for.
Okay, there's a misunderstanding on that, I will find that list for you. You're looking at the different contractors that paid into
I'm
that.
looking for the composition of those funds. There are requirements, restrictions, obligations on those accounts, to my understanding.
Are we okay with this food truck Friday?
I think it's a great idea. People might stop there and let their kids play after they're done eating, or, you know what I mean, hang out, which, let's face it, the park needs to get used besides just for sports. So, why not? I make the motion to approve hosting the food truck Fridays at Gibraltar Park. 2 or 3 food trucks. Timing 3 to 7 is fine for me, but
Right, do we have a second?
I'll
Should,
second
should there be some kind of application for that, including minimums of insurances,
didn't you just say they
certifications,
have to get that through the
certifications of health?
Mr. Bittler? That was stated by Mr. Howe, so our manager already stated that.
Well, I'm
And
asking
you-
to
with
look at
you-
the
you to
formal
listen.
permit. I'm looking for the formal document that just doesn't let people wing it.
They're gonna
Have you guys looked at the public park rental permit, if you will? Have you seen that? How long ago was that drafted? The existing permit for a public, somebody wants to lease that.
For, you're talking about for our pavilion? and those
Yeah,
things? Couldn't tell you when the last time I looked at it, sir. I know it's 150 for the pavilion.
Yeah.
Varies on the other costs for other activities.
By the way, Barry, thank you for turning that order off.
Well, we have a motion and a second for the
Yeah.
food truck Fridays.
Yes,
So roll call, Mr. Joy,
yes.
Mr. Noel.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
I'll vote yes with the understanding we're gonna get a proper permitting structure in place.
If
And
we're
yes.
inviting them there to try and make a
All food
difference.
trucks should have their own thing.
They do.
But I'm assuming that Park and Rec and Rich will
Yeah,
make sure.
they have their own.
Right, for a food truck to operate, they need their, the safe serve certification, or at least one person on duty who has that certification. Plus they get the Department of Agriculture, certification, for health procedures.
Pretty safe.
It's typically done as a mobile food facility license, requires a yearly inspection.
Alright, Rich, C.
Okay. So the other thing we'd like a motion to approve is to look into sponsorship signs. As you know, one of these obviously having funds that we can utilize for our park and rec programs would be absolutely fantastic. We've done some great work down there recently, and sure I'd like to thank the board for that. We looked into what it costs for different signs. Currently Plowville has them. What Plowville has discovered is they utilize essentially an airflow sign, so they're not solid. That was one concern about that airflow not being able to go through the fence line. So they have various programs, various structures for pricing based on the size of the sign and then how often it's utilized. But it would generate some good revenue for us. It's I think $480 based on my recollection for the sign itself, and then there's a yearly maintenance fee around $120. And then at the end of that period, they have a rollover, and they essentially purchase. There's an agreement that they purchase the sign at a reduced cost for rolling it over and continuing with it. So I think that'd be a great way to bring some attention to businesses here in the township, and anybody could do that. And we can certainly look at options along the fence lines there.
Makes sense, it's been in Plowville for years now. I think it's a great idea.
Motion for the sponsorship sign.
I'll make the motion to approve sponsorship signs.
I'll second, roll call, Mrs. Joy,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
Yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, next thing is just, we are looking for some gutters and downspouts, and that's on the pavilion, so we're obtaining some quotes for that. We'll get back to you on those. We just realized that they probably need some updating. Again, that's just part of our process. I want to let you know that I approved an Eagle Scout project in the park. It's actually tied into the painting work that we've done. The painter actually donated the paint to the Eagle Scout. I met with him in my office on Tuesday. He walked through the project with me. I've asked him to reach out to some different businesses here in the township to secure some of the needed tools for that project, whether it's scrapers, paintbrushes, and so on. He's going to do that, again, trying to keep that inside the township. We talked about the importance of that. And then what he's going to do is he's going to complete, it's actually the two, drawing blank for Lord's sake, the home and away dugouts, and then the small snack stand that we have as well. So those two things that he's going to do all of that work. He's also going to put stone down in the two dugouts, which I think will be great as well. They're starting to show their age and wear, and that'll be his project. We're going to probably, when all said and done, he's probably looking at about 100 hours, maybe 150 total man hours on that project. I think that's a good solid Eagle Scout project, and he's got a well laid out plan. His intent would be to do that no later. We talked about timing as well, and it would probably be sometime in late August into early October based on timing and weather events and such. And of course, he has to do most on the weekends, so. Right, I'll let you know about that.
Do we want approval for that? You have
No, I don't think we need approval for that. It's just a matter of, at this point, just letting you know that it's been signed and he's gonna roll forward. It was part of our painting piece anyway, so it's all tied into that, other than the stone for the dugout. So I will come back to you if there's any materials that he needs us to purchase.
I think you do need a motion though, I think that,
I think you absolutely do.
Okay.
yeah.
And I don't know why it wouldn't be presented to this board, why you would be just doing it.
Cause I brought that up when we were looking at doing this work and said it would be a great Eagle Scout project or a Girl Scout Gold project. So I think that's where we went from a couple months ago and said, gee, this might be a good thing to get help from the kids and involve them in the community.
Would it be okay to have a motion to ratify my approval of the Eagle Scout project moving forward?
Well,
Well,
it'd be
I'd
nice
like
if the Eagle came before the board, said, here's my plans, he gets a little bit of
I know that that is,
presentation, that would all be good as opposed to
yeah,
this.
I know that is, in most municipalities, that is what's done, where the Eagle Scout comes, or proposed, or soon to be Eagle Scout comes before the Board of Supervisors. It's not required, it's generally done, and then it's approved by the board, because it is supposed to be in the minutes that
Can
there
he
was an
come on
approval of
Tuesday?
the project.
I'll check with him, see if he can come on Tuesday evening, make a presentation here. And just let you know the minutes of February 26th, park rec meeting are included.
EAC.
Just a few items on the EAC, 21st is garden prep. That's just, that's going to be on the 21st. Originally, that was going to be on the 28th of July. We had to move it to the 21st based on some conflicts. And that was just basically putting down some cardboard, thank you. Cardboard around the sign, which would allow them then to, eventually they're going to put the mulch on top of that. Then the other thing that I would ask is a request a motion to approve our township truck to haul some mulch. Tom Kime had quite a bit of additional mulch delivered to his home. He's willing to donate that. We'd ask if we have a motion that we can move that with our truck on our equipment from his property down here so that we can utilize that for the township sign out here out front.
Guess
How
I need
much,
to take
how much is the
cardboard.
value of the mulch? How much does it cost us to move it?
I couldn't tell you that right now.
Well, he said the mulch was given to him for free, so it costs us nothing, and that's the amount it costs the time and gas, I guess, for him to go to his house and drop
We're
it off.
talking one vehicle, right?
He says probably, one load.
One load.
Yeah.
So whatever that cost us, so the time and gas.
I was gonna say less than it would have cost if we would have bought it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to
I don't see the issue with it.
make a motion to and then when we need it, we can go get it.
I'll make that motion, it's painful. You know, to allow Barry or one of the guys to approve the township truck to haul the mulch for Tom Klein.
How will you load that, Barry?
It would have to get loaded with backhoe.
So you have to run the backhoe there, that's not real far, correct?
The backhoe's up at the old building, on White Bear
It's
Road.
on White Bear Road, it's down the road.
That's where the backhoe's
I have
at
a
now.
motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Joy,
Yes.
Mr. Dillo,
Yes.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
I vote yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Board. The last last piece I have on here is a birdhouse workshop for scouts sometime in January 2025 against a project for Mr. Kime. He's essentially jigged out probably about 30 birdhouses at this point, and he's going to then bring those out. We'll coordinate with the scouts, and they'll actually have it as one of their projects for a pin or an award in the Weeblow's program or the other scout programs. And any other questions? That's all I have with these.
New business or old business? No? And then, we know, we do have some legal issues to discuss in executive session. So at this point, we're in executive session at 7:58.
We'll suspend the YouTube pending litigation. Run it back one, back. Under protest. Let them know outside.
But I couldn't agree with that. That was personal. Here's a wine and sugar.
Back in session, Jennifer, trying to find everybody.
I kind of wanted these to go in the last time and he never took it back. What he says, yeah.
Everybody's back, all right, we'll come in back into session at 8:16. If there's no other business or motion, Mr. Schumpy, anyone like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:17?
What was the purpose of the executive session, Mr. Chairman?
It was legal issues.
The purpose was litigation, and it was the Bittler versus Robeson Township Board of Supervisors.
That's the litigation I filed on behalf basically of the residents of Robeson Township.
That Robeson Township residents will be paid for?
We'll protect your rights here in Robeson.
Yeah, you'll pay for it too. We will, not you.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
8:17, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.